Well, how about that?
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Happy Victory Monday to you. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Detroit Lions 48-42 and improved to 11-3 on the season and snapped the mighty Lions' 11-game win streak. What a response. Maybe, just maybe, that Rams loss last week was exactly what this Buffalo Bills football team needed. An unbelievable response. What a fun win. The final score was close, but the Bills were in control of that football game from start to finish. We'll talk about things I liked, things I didn't like, talk about what's next. But there's only one place to start this conversation today, and that's with Josh Allen. What a game. 23 of 34, 362 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 11 rushes for 68 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 427 yards, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. Just did what he wanted to do out there. He's the NFL MVP. And that feels like it's been trending in that direction, but this game absolutely cements it. And to me, the moment was the 3rd and short throw down the field on a corner route to Dalton Kincaid. That was the moment where it became completely undeniable to me. Josh Allen just simply cannot be stopped right now. He's the best player in the world right now. The past 2 weeks, 704 passing yards, 150 rushing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns, no turnovers. I mean, he's breaking records left and right. He's breaking his own records. First player in NFL history with 5 or more passing touchdowns and 5 or more rushing touchdowns over any 2-game span. First player in NFL history to record multiple passing touchdowns, multiple rushing touchdowns, 350 or more passing yards, and 60 or more rushing yards in the same game, including the playoffs. He's the first player in NFL history with at least 2 touchdown passes and 2 touchdown rushes in consecutive games, and the first player all time with 3 such games in a season. Also tied Patrick Mahomes for the second most regular season wins by a quarterback in his first 7 seasons in NFL history. Are you not entertained? This stretch of games is insane. This one, Rams last week, 6 touchdowns. Before that, the first quarterback in NFL history to pass, throw, and rush for a touchdown in the same game against the 49ers, the 4th and 2 against the Chiefs. I mean, come on. It's Josh Allen's world, and we're all just living in it. Doing what he wants out there, off script, in rhythm, down the field, short, running, throwing. It begs the question, is Josh Allen having the best ever season by a Buffalo Bills player in franchise history? Off the charts. Special. And you can just see the freedom that he has to operate. spreading the ball around. The Bills have scored 30 or more points in 8 consecutive games. That ties an NFL record. In those 8 games, 6 different receivers have led the team in receiving yards. The freedom that he has to operate. It's undeniable at this point that Stephon Diggs 100% held this offense back. Josh Allen's not worried about Stephon Diggs' production and funneling all the targets to him. He just goes out there and plays, and boy, he's dealing. Absolutely dealing. Running backs are awesome in this game, too. I think Joe Brady's done such a good job of getting all 3 of them involved this season. Ty Johnson, 5 catches, 114 yards, 2 rushes for 9 yards. And, I mean, those catches, particularly earlier in the game, I mean, he was the offense in terms of who Josh was looking for on some throws. Beautiful touch passes, great catches. James Cook, 14 rushes, 105 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, adds a 28-yard catch. Ray Davis, couple of catches for 14 yards, including a touchdown, 7 rushes for 15 yards. These running backs combined for 31 touches, 285 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Unbelievable, right? Great complementary skill sets, and Ty Johnson really is the name that is just coming into his own here as this third down back. Him and Josh are on the same page in terms of attacking space. The pass protection efforts have been outstanding, and he's just evolving with this offense and playing well. James Cook still getting his opportunities. 2 rushing touchdowns, over 100 yards from scrimmage from James as well. Running backs are humming. And, of course, this game was really about Josh Allen and the running backs, but you still had a huge play down the field to Keon Coleman. Welcome back. 64 yards. Josh Allen off script, delivering a dot down the field. Dawson Knox, a couple of catches for 42 yards. The one-handed grab was a massive play in this game. Khalil Shakir, 6 catches and a touchdown. All this production in this game, Amari Cooper wasn't even targeted. And honestly, who cares? That's the beauty of this offense. It's not about any one player. The backs and tight ends need to go off for a week. The backs and tight ends will go off for a week. How about this offensive line? Josh Allen not sacked. Hit only 3 times in over 35 dropbacks to go with 197 rushing yards, 5.8 yards per carry. Offensive line did its job, I'll tell you that. I think you watched that game, and from the Detroit side of things, I think you're probably concerned that the defensive line didn't do better. And one of the big talking points that I had all week long was that both defenses had problems based on the way they want to play and based on what the offense challenges them with. And we talked about how the Bills had to make the Lions pay for living in base defense, 3 linebacker sets, and the Bills did exactly that. This game was about backs and tight ends. I talked about the running backs, 31 touches, 285 yards, 3 touchdowns, but also the tight ends, Kincaid and Knox combined 6 catches for 95 yards. Those were the matchups. When they're putting linebackers on these running backs, you saw Josh. It was wheel routes. It was rail routes out of the backfield, getting running backs isolated up on linebackers and making plays down the field over and over again. Tight ends, same types of opportunities. The Bills had to make Detroit pay for living in base defense, and that's exactly what they did. Unbelievable game for this offense. 48 points, 28 first downs, 6 of 11 on possession downs, 559 total yards, 8.2 yards per play, no sacks, no turnovers. I asked the question earlier, is this season by Josh Allen the best season an individual player has ever had in the history of the Buffalo Bills? Another question, is this the best offense the Buffalo Bills have ever had in history? They just tied the NFL record for consecutive games with 30 points at 8. They scored 40 points in consecutive games for just the 3rd time in team history. Is this the best offense the Buffalo Bills have ever put on the field? It's worth talking about. It's worth talking about. Folks, you may notice the shirt. If you're on YouTube, I have a Happy Victory Monday to You t-shirt on. It's part of the merch launch that we have, herdmentalityshop.com. You can get your Happy Victory Monday to you t-shirt. We have, my favorite shirt is the one that says, we have JA17 and you don't. It's a good looking shirt. We have an everydayer shirt, all kinds of stuff. So go to herdmentalityshop.com. There's a link in today's show notes as well. Get yourself one of these outstanding shirts. We got a lot of cool stuff for you to check out. Couldn't think of a better time to grab one of these, and that Josh Allen shirt is outstanding. All right, there's so much more to get into here, including things I liked on defense, things I liked on special teams, the things I didn't like, all kinds of stuff to talk about here today. Folks, be sure to stick with me. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Folks, I love this time of year, and my wife, she works so hard to make our home warm and cozy during the Christmas season. How do you stay cozy during the winter months? For some, wrapping up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate or watching a movie with family is the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the seasons change. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire that'll get you matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It's not just for people who have experienced major trauma. So find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. It's that time of year. The college football playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoffs begin December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. A happy Victory Monday indeed, folks. We'll continue discussing things I liked, and I want to talk defense. I know the Bills gave up 42 points and 1 billion yards, but still think there's a lot of good things happening defensively. And I'll start with how they mixed things up early. I think the early game script with the Bills being able to score, get some stops early, was a huge reason why they won the game. And early on, you saw the Bills work in some 3 linebacker stuff. Dorian Williams on the field with Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard. And then obviously they wind up having injury to Dorian Williams. They wind up having injury to Matt Milano during the game. So, you didn't quite see it as much, but you did see it situationally and matchup specific. And I think it's great to see the Bills do something like that. You saw last week against the Rams, the Bills struggled with condensed tight formations. And you saw a great adjustment this week where the Lions love to run those tight condensed formations. And the Bills sent a double cornerback blitz, and Christian Benford got a sack. How about Ed Oliver in this game? I mean, that dude faced heat all week long. And he deserved it, right? Like, he deserved every bit of criticism that he got this week. But also, the biggest of hat tips, because you came out and you delivered in this game. 10 pressures? Are you kidding? A sack, 4 tackles. He was disruptive all game long. Drew the holding penalty on Frank Ragnow, steamrolled Frank Ragnow, who I think is probably the best center in the game. Ed Oliver absolutely met this moment, right? And a challenging week for him. He deserved it. He's not been good enough this year. Absolutely good enough in this football game. Dude brought it. He got the message for sure. The defensive line generally just so much more effective. I know that the Lions scored a bunch of points. They got a bunch of passing yards, but the pass rush was generally pretty effective. Goff made some great plays. The run defense was really good. Dwan Smoot, his return, you can feel that. He's a good player, right? Good against the run, high effort against the pass, had a tackle for loss and a pass breakup in this game. Greg Rousseau comes through with the sack and 3 quarterback hits. I thought Javon Solomon had a really good pass rush against Penei Sewell later in the game, honestly, he missed a sack. He should have got him down, but it was a great rush. I just thought, generally speaking, the D-line just had so much more of an impact in this game. So much more than the Lions. I mean, we're talking about a shootout here, 48-42. Pretty obvious which defensive line was more impactful in this game. Christian Benford. Obviously, we talked about the sack. His forced fumble against, was it Amon-Ra St. Brown, middle of the field? Pulling that ball out. Matt Milano with the recovery. Huge play. I mean, those are two huge plays in the game. It's the only turnover in a 48-42 shootout. The Bills were the team that made one less mistake, right? Huge in a game like that. And just generally speaking on the defense, guys stepped up. The Bills were without 3 starters in the secondary. No Rasul Douglas, no Taylor Rapp, no DeMar Hamlin. Kyer Elam gets the start, and I thought he played pretty well based on watching it live on the broadcast. Cam Lewis steps in and starts at safety. Cole Bishop starts at safety. And how much better did Cole Bishop look in this game compared to the Houston disaster? It's nice to see some growth there. Kareem Jackson has to come in because Cole Bishop has cramps, and he comes in and makes an impact. You lose Dorian Williams during the game. He winds up coming back. Balin Spector has to step in. I mean, just figuring it out. Obviously, they gave up yards and they gave up points. There's no question. But I think the overall game script in this game helped the Bills' defense. Again, they gave up yards, they gave up points, but they had 59 pass plays and 15 runs. The concern that I had, and I think most people had, was how were the Bills going to manage this Detroit Lions rushing offense that's so good with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery? Well, Gibbs and Montgomery had 13 carries for 35 yards. The Bills had the right answers there. But also, when you are able to score like the Bills did early in the game, I think 3 consecutive touchdown drives to start the game, you get a few stops along the way, you put Detroit into more of a drop-back passing game. It takes their rushing equation out. It takes their play-action equation out. And obviously, again, yards and points were given up. There's no question, but I feel like a lot of that's pretty empty. Because the Bills had, I think, the right answers early on that gave them a great chance to win the football game, and that's exactly what they did. Game scripts matter. And this game script was certainly in favor of the Bills. Things I liked on special teams, Sam Martin's one punt was excellent, 51 yards, all net, downed at the 3. I think Tyler Bass hitting that 50-yard field goal was a big deal. It put the Bills up by 3 scores in the fourth quarter, as a pressure kick, especially after missing from 24 earlier. Tyler Bass goes 6 of 6 on extra points. He made another field goal, and then, of course, that 50-yarder was a big deal. Thought Brandon Codrington was terrific on all 3 punt returns. You could tell Jack Fox, the Detroit punter's a good one. A lot of distance on a lot of those kicks. Codrington handled them and had some nice returns. And then the Bills recovered 2 onside kicks. One of them by Mac Hollins that was returned 38 yards to the 5-yard line, sets up a touchdown pass to Ray Davis. I don't know why the Lions did that. I think that was pretty foolish. Pretty freaking foolish, but thank you. And then they recover the one at the end there. It was obviously a little bit of an adventure. Taron Johnson didn't field it cleanly, but he winds up getting the ball at the end. And then, of course, the Bills didn't mess around on the kickoffs. They had all touchbacks, and so clean hits by Tyler Bass to make sure that in a game that the offenses weren't clicking, that they didn't get a major boost with a big return. So outside of the missed field goal by Tyler Bass, I mean, a really good game for the Bills on the special teams side of things. And, I don't know if you give them credit for the Lions missing that field goal before the half, but that was a notable moment in the game as well that was in favor of the Bills special teams. So plenty to like about all 3 phases in this game, obviously, and a banner day for the offense. Gets a good Detroit defense, a defense that's playing at home. The Bills practice once this week. Lions had extended rest. And, it's a week-to-week league in the NFL, right? I think about the conversations we had coming out of that Rams game. Now this game, look at the Lions. Everybody thought they were the cat's pajamas, and now they gave up 31 to the Packers last week. They gave up 48 to the Bills this week. And a lot of questions are going to exist about their defense. Week-to-week league, ain't it? Really is. But obviously, good to be on this side of the equation for the Buffalo Bills, getting to 11-3. All right, I have things I didn't like in this game, including on the offense, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the injuries, a lot of injuries coming out of this game, and we'll recap my predictions and talk about what's next here on Locked On Bills. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And boy, I had fun on FanDuel this week. I had some overs hit for the Bills game. I had the Bills points over. I had the total for the game over. I think it was at 54.5. That smashed. I also had James Cook rushing prop as well. So get in on the action. It just makes it that much more exciting. FanDuel.com. Again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to a Victory Monday edition of Locked On Bills. Buffalo 48, Detroit 42. There are some things that I didn't like from this game, and we'll get into all three phases of the contest. And I'll start with offense. And look, I get it. The Bills scored 48 points and had 500-something yards, and it's hard to poke holes in the offense. But the reality is they left some things out there, and when you looked at this game at halftime, for the Bills to be only up by 7, that was pretty disappointing because there were some downs and moments that the Bills needed to win. Offensively, end of the first half, you're winning 21-14. You're facing a 3rd and 1. And I thought the right idea was back-to-back quarterback sneaks with Josh Allen from the 1-yard line. And you're probably going to go up 28-14. Worst case scenario, you don't, and the Lions are pinned up against their own 1-yard line with a long field ahead of them, and the Bills get the ball first out of the half. Instead, the Bills wind up having a false start on a 3rd and 1 pass, right? We know that it was a pass play by Deion Dawkins that moves it to 3rd and 6, incomplete pass, then Tyler Bass misses a 24-yard field goal. That's a bad sequence. Again, I know the Bills are awesome on offense, and I'm poking holes, but come on, that's bad sequence for the Bills. Then they get the ball back at the 42 after Detroit misses their own field goal. And you have 36 seconds. You have 2 timeouts. And you don't get any points here. First play of that drive is an intentional grounding by Josh Allen. And, I mean, he held the ball a little bit and threw it to nobody. It was a correct call, and that really made that drive difficult. Never got it close enough for a field goal. I know that they had a chance. They could have kicked a 66-yard field goal. But quite frankly, I'm not interested in seeing that. If that's short and their kick returner gets it, or they put Jahmyr Gibbs back there and he's just got a bunch of offensive linemen to beat for a touchdown, don't need that. But maybe a Hail Mary, or maybe on the play before the last play where you took a shot down the field, a low efficiency call when you just need a few yards to get into field goal range. Maybe you kind of manage that situation differently. I thought the Bills handled that poorly. Also, 45-35 midway through the fourth quarter, the Bills are 1st and goal from the 10. You get a hold on David Edwards that takes the touchdown pass to Kincaid off the board. You parlay that into a false start. You go from 1st and goal from the 10 to 3rd and goal from the 25. Again, hard to be mad overall, but you had some things happen in this game that made it a little bit more difficult than it needed to be. I mean, we're talking about 3rd and goal from the 1. Do the right thing. Give yourself a better chance to get points before the half on that last drive. Don't turn a 1st and goal from the 10 into a 3rd and goal from the 25. Things I didn't like defensively. Look, they gave up passing yards. There's no question in this type of game. You know, you can live with it. But where I think I have some frustrations from the defense is mostly Some downs that you'd like to win that you couldn't. Earlier in the game, it's 3rd and 9. Jared Goff extends the play. He finds Tim Patrick, and it's a great effort by Tim Patrick for a touchdown, but we're talking about 3rd and 9. You'd like to win that down and not give up a touchdown. The Lions go for it on a 4th and 4. You feel like that's a big moment. You get a stop there, get the ball back to Josh Allen. They can't stop him. 4th and 4, you give up 26 yards over the middle of the field to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then Goff has a 3rd and 10 run and to convert, and then they eventually score. Those are like 2 downs, that 4th and 4 or that 3rd and 10. You like to win those downs. How about you're obviously in control of the game, but Detroit at least makes it interesting at the end, courtesy of them scoring 3 fourth-quarter touchdown drives. Again, the Bills were up 3 scores before Detroit touched the ball in the 4th quarter. And when that's the case, you got a great chance to win a football game, but the reality is you can't let them score fast. You have to make them earn it. You have to make them, milk clock and all that stuff. That's not the case. They got 3 touchdown drives in the 4th quarter of 70 yards, and they went 70 yards in 2 minutes and 2 seconds, 70 yards in 3 minutes and 49 seconds, and 70 yards in 1 minute and 51 seconds. That was a 16-play drive that took them 1 minute and 51 seconds to score a touchdown on 70 yards. I mean, those types of quick scores allows a game where you're winning by 3 scores before they touch the ball in the 4th quarter. That's how you wind up winning by 6. And I mean, if Taron Johnson didn't field that ball correctly on the onside kick, he didn't. He was lucky that it got kind of pushed back to him and he was able to make the play, but Bills were in position to blow that because they gave up 3 very quick touchdown drives, and you can't do that. You cannot give up those quick scores. They have to take more time off the clock. And, of course, I didn't like Tyler Bass missing for 24 yards. Bills had some injuries in this one. Matt Milano, groin injury. Dorian Williams, elbow injury. He did finish the game. Curtis Samuel, shoulder injury. He did finish the game. Josh Allen got an x-ray on his right shoulder. He said it felt a little funky. The x-rays were negative. He said they did it more for peace of mind than anything. Said he'll be fine, but I don't like Josh Allen getting x-rays. Cole Bishop left with cramping and didn't return. Then Spencer Brown had a head injury. I know that it looked like a neck injury when you watched it, but the Bills PR said head injury. And so that's what we know. There's usually some mystery injuries as well that we don't know about. So you add those to, you already got Hamlin and Rapp that missed. So there's some injury stuff to be mindful of this week. Also want to give a shout out to Sean McDermott. With that win, the Bills are now 11-3. That's the Bills' 5th straight 11-win season, making Coach McDermott just the 5th head coach in the history of the NFL with 5 straight 11-win seasons. The other 4 coaches to do it, Bill Belichick, Tony Dungy, Tom Landry, and Andy Reid. Not bad company to be in. My predictions, I went 3 for 5. My first prediction was a season high in points scored for Detroit, points scored against Detroit. Smashed that. Bill scored 48. They needed 32 to score the most against Detroit this year. They wound up getting 48. I predicted that Khalil Shakir would have 75 receiving yards. He didn't. He had 39 and a touchdown. Oh, well. I predicted Josh Allen would have 50 rushing yards. He did. He had 68. I predicted that the over in points would hit. The over was 54.5. The Bills nearly did that themselves. You wind up getting, 90 points in this game? A lot of points. 54.5 was way too low. And I predicted very foolishly a Lions win. That didn't happen. I'm very happy about that. So I go 3 for 5. And I went into this year, I've been doing this podcast since January 2019. It's been a while. I went into this year having never predicted the Bills to lose a game that they actually won. And now I'm 0 for 2. I predicted the Bills would lose in week 2 against Miami, and I predicted they would lose this one, and I was wrong both times. And boy, I couldn't be more glad to be wrong. So I go 3 for 5. Next up for the Buffalo Bills, a home game, back-to-back home games. Patriots next week, then the Jets at Highmark Stadium. The Bills close the regular season at the New England Patriots. So those are your last 3. The Bills sit at 11-3. Got a real shot to get to 14-3. One at a time, right? One at a time. Hopefully 14-3 is good enough for the 1 seed. Chiefs just keep winning. So they'll have to lose 2 of their last 3. And the Bills will have to win all 3 for the Bills to be the 1 seed. But the Steelers lost to the Eagles, which is helpful. So the Bills are the number 2 seed in the AFC without needing tiebreakers as things currently stand. So they are in control of their own destiny to be the 2 seed, which is not a terrible place to be. If you're the 2 seed, that means you host the 7. And then you probably play the 3 seed if it's Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh plays Denver or the Chargers or something and wins. It means you probably you host Pittsburgh week 2 and then see what happens. If you can go further, and if it's Kansas City, you go to Kansas City, host Baltimore, whatever it is in the AFC Championship game. But one at a time. Bills took care of this one against the Detroit Lions. Next up for this podcast is the All-22 review, and I'm looking forward to that. I'll spend all day Monday in the tape, and then later in the day, you'll get the All-22 review podcast. And if you're part of our Substack, you get a film file from me. You'll get it tomorrow afternoon of me breaking down this game. Video clips, voiceover commentary, showing you exactly what the Bills did, and we'll get into scheme stuff. We'll get into individual players. So if you'd like to get that file, you got to be part of our Substack or our Subtext. Subtext, I send text messages during games all week long, letting you know my thoughts on the Bills. And my Substack is where I write articles. I write, 3-4 articles a week. I just did the third quarter report card. We do a scouting article every week on Josh Allen. You also get my big picture thoughts article tomorrow. But you also get the All-22 review clips in the Substack sent right to your email. So check it out. Links in today's show notes for the Substack, the Subtext, and the Herd Mentality shop. All right, folks, enjoy your Victory Monday. It's been, like I said at the end of the last episode on Saturday, it was a trying week coming out of that Rams loss. The commentary, the narratives got out of control. Can't imagine a better way to respond and bounce back than that performance right there going into these last 3. 2 against the Patriots, 1 against the Jets. All right, we'll be here every step of the way. Don't miss anything. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your Victory Monday. Go Bills. And I look forward to catching up with you again on the All-22 review.